Shh. Follow me into the dark.
Hello creeps, Brains here, and today I wanted to tell a spooky story that happened while me and my aunt were in Vegas. If you didn't know, I went to Vegas the week of April 11th. It was my first time there. We had a load of fun, but something kind of creepy happened. First off, we stayed in the hotel called Bally's. It's huge. It's a 44-acre hotel casino. They have food courts, everything. Like, you really don't even have to leave the hotel, like, at all. But it used to be MGM Grand, and it actually burned down at some point in the past, and 87 people died. It was rebuilt. The main tower portion of the hotel was saved, and it then became Bally's, and MGM moved to where it is now. So I turned on one of the ghost apps. I'll have to look the name of it because I just can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Ghost Talk or something. But I turned it on one night, and me and my aunt were just hanging out. She likes creepy stuff too. And it said, sad. And then it said burning skin. And that's really all it said, which was really weird because 87 people died in a fire. Now that could all be coincidence. The strange thing is in previous times that I've used this app, it's never said more than one word at a time. So that was already kind of strange to me, but I didn't really think anything about it. So on our third day there, so we got there on Tuesday kind of evening, I think, or well, Tuesday afternoon. I believe this was on Wednesday or Thursday. We were sitting outside of the hotel, and we were just hanging out. One of the funnest things to do in Vegas, honestly, is to just watch all the people. It kind of makes me sound like a creep, which I am. But we would just people watch, and we walked while we were there. The whole time we were there, we walked 28 miles. And we were there for 4 days. So a lot of walking. Anyway, so we were kind of tired and we didn't really want to eat, so we just sat outside, and we both smoke electronic cigarettes. So we were just outside vaping or whatever. And all of a sudden I see this old black Cadillac, and my aunt's like, check out that cold Cadillac. Let's go look at it. So we go to look at it, and I take a couple pictures of it, which I'll put in here. And then we kind of, I don't know what happened, but we kind of disregarded it. And then I'm like, let's go take some more pictures of this cool Cadillac. Well, when we did, the back door was open. And the weird thing about this Cadillac that I almost forgot to mention is it had the little swirly thing that's on the back of hearses. It almost looked like a funeral car. It wasn't a hearse. It was a Cadillac. It was actually an Eldorado. But it had the little swirly silver thing. I don't know what it's called. I wish I knew what it was, but it's always on hearses. Anyway, the door was open, and my Aunt Vicky was like, holy shit, it wants us to get into the car. I have pictures while the door's open, and there's no one in the car. All of a sudden, this big, long leg comes out of the car, and then this really weird guy gets out. And he was dressed really weird because he had on a white button-down shirt, slacks, but then he had on Jordans. I mean, whatever. The other strange thing about him is he had a big fat cigar that was never lit, and you can smoke in all the casinos. And he had a baseball, and he was just like rolling it around in his hand. It was kind of weird. He ran into the casino and got a beer and came out. And Vicky like grabbed my arm, and she's like, oh my God, did you see that guy's, like, did you see him? And I didn't really see him at that time. I just kind of saw, like, he was very tall, kind of like Lurch, but I didn't really see his face. And she was like, there's something really weird about him. And she's like, his eyes are just weird. And my Aunt Vicky's not always one to jump to conclusions. She's a pretty straight shooter, very blunt and frank. And she's like, it's like he was possessed or something. Just gave me a really weird vibe. So he went back into the casino and got a second beer. And before he came out, this girl with like white hair, I'm not trying to be mean, she kind of looked like a stripper or something, very little bitty teeny shirt, kind of ditzy. And she saw we were smoking, and she thought we were smoking like real cigarettes. And she asked me for a cigarette. We were chit-chatting or whatever, just talking about where we were from. It was our first time in Vegas, you know, like all the typical small talk. And I see this guy coming, and I'm like looking at her, but looking past her, you know what I mean? And I met his eyes. And as soon as I looked at him, he looked directly into my eyes, and he had the weirdest eyes, and then he smiled this really, like, weird smile. I don't even know how to describe it. And it gave me cold chills. I don't think you can see my cold chills, but it just gave me cold chills. He was weird. And this whole time, after this, we decided to turn the ghost app on. So, as soon as this guy comes out, it's like he draws this girl to him. And she literally stops mid-sentence and goes and talks to this guy. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my hair right now. It's dirty, it needs to be washed. She like gets in his car, and Vicky grabs me, and she's almost crying, and she's like, I have a really bad feeling about that girl getting in the car with that guy. He's just weird, and I'm afraid something bad's gonna happen to her. So Vicky goes and like taps on the window and is like, honey, I just want to let you know you need to be real careful. And she just looks at her and says, it's okay, I get into strangers' cars all the time. And the guy had went in to get a beer, a third beer, mind you, while Vicky was doing this. And when he came back out, he was all smiling and weird, and they drove off. So we had the ghost app on, or the spirit box app on, and it had been saying some very weird stuff. And all of a sudden it said, look. And it had been like 20 or 30 minutes, and we were just talking about how weird it was and how it didn't look like anyone was in the car, and it's like this guy just appeared in the car. I actually have a picture of him that I snapped, and it's just kind of the side of his face. I'll put it here. And it was just all like very odd and eerie. And the app said, look. And we look up, and this guy comes running back into the casino. And then he runs out. And then the app says, walk now. So we walk like across this parking lot because we want to see where he's going. We weren't like stalking him or like right on him or following him like close behind. He runs across the street to this other casino. I can't remember what it was called right now. And he runs inside. And we're just sitting there watching. He comes out and he like talks to these homeless people. And then he gets in his car. And we can see his car from there. That's how close it really was. And the girl wasn't in the car. So we had hoped that he had just really taken her home or wherever she was going and nothing bad had happened to her. So we decided to go into the casino and get a drink. Now, if you don't know, basically almost every casino gives you free drinks if you're gambling. So we would kind of cheat the system and just sit down and put $1 in and get a drink and then leave. And while we're sitting there, the machine that Vicky puts her money in, it like quits working. Like, it's not working at all. It just freezes. It won't let her cash out or anything. So we're waiting for an attendant to come over and like reboot the machine, which finally happens. But the whole time this is happening, my app thing is going crazy. It was saying, find him now. I can hear you, and all these weird things. It said possessed. So we have to wait for this lady so Vicky can get her money back. We have our drinks and we go outside and we see him across the street again, and he just drives off. And we thought it was really strange. We were all like freaked out, like my adrenaline was going nuts. And we went up to our room, and I looked out the window, and something told me to just look out the window. And I saw his car driving back down the street. He like cut through this alley. We went back down to the front of the casino, and we didn't see him, so we didn't think anything else about it. But we were really worried about that girl. We were like watching the news to make sure that no girl had been reported missing. Well, at some point before we went up to her room, we stopped. There was like a bar as soon as you went in. It like had frozen drinks and all kinds of stuff. And we asked this bartender, she was a young girl, young 20s, like 21, maybe, well, obviously she had to be at least 21. And we asked her if she'd saw this guy come in, and she's like, I just can't think of anyone, you know, we have a lot of creeps come in or whatever, which I imagine she does. And she asked us, so can you describe the girl to me? Like, what did she look like? And we didn't think anything about it. And we told her, and she's like, no. She's like, but if I see you guys and he comes in, I'll let you know. And we're like, okay, cool, thanks. And like, he's pretty hard to miss. He's very strange. Well, on Friday we caught a red-eye flight, but we had to check out of our hotel at noon. So then we couldn't really go to we could have went to the airport, but we didn't go to the airport until 10. So we were just kind of like homeless for 10 hours. And we were just sitting outside, and we saw that guy again at the casino. And he didn't come over to ours, but we saw his car, and it just kind of drove off, and we lost him. Well, later that night, around probably 7 or 8 o'clock, that bartender comes walking out. And she looks at us and she goes, oh my God, why are you guys still here? And we're like, we're waiting. We're going to catch a red-eye home. And she's like, do you happen to have that guy's license plate? And I said, yes, I do. Because I had taken a picture of the car and I think there's 1 digit missing in the license plate. And she's like, that girl that you described is my sister. And she's schizophrenic, and she's also a compulsive liar. And I'm like, oh my God. And we told her, and she's like, she came home last night, and this morning she left with that guy. And my mom had a really bad feeling and didn't want her, out by herself or not knowing where she was going or anything. And she's like, my mom tried to get a picture of his license plate, but he drove off too fast and she didn't get it. So we gave her, I texted her the pictures and all that of the pictures I had of him. And then she also told us, sorry, I just heard a weird noise. This story really creeps me out. She also told us that basically the timeline we figured out is while we were stuck at that machine trying to get it rebooted and get the money back out of it, he had come back in and went to that bar where that bartender was and freaked out and started cussing. And she said he looked like the devil. He was so mad, and he was cussing at people and being nasty. And if we would have been down there at that time, we would have saw him. So that is my creepy story about the Cadillac man. And that app was so spot on. It said a lot of other things that were real relevant. So it could all be a coincidence, but the app was saying some crazy shit that was spot on at that time. And also, maybe that guy was just a weirdo, but I know you weren't there, so you don't know, but take my word for it. He was a very, very strange guy. And I don't mean strange like I'm a weirdo and like weird stuff. I mean like he keeps girls in his basement, or he sold his soul to the devil kind of shit. So just be careful out there, creeps. Another thing I want to say, I hate to do this, but I started a Patreon. I want to say you're at no obligation. Please don't feel obligated. I'm not begging for money. My videos are not monetized. I just do this for fun. So the whole ad block and all that is not affecting me. But I want to get a camera and a microphone and some a good tripod and all that stuff so I can put better videos out for you guys. Unfortunately, I'm an adult and I have lots of bills. We just got a second car, so I have 2 car payments. It's my choice. It's fine. I'm not gonna go bankrupt or anything, but I just don't have, money laying around to buy something so expensive for something that is really a hobby. I love doing it though, and I'll continue to do it like this regardless. But I have my first Patreon actually, which if you donate $1, I'm gonna put your name here as a text shout out for now, since I just have one. I'm so glad that anyone gave me anything. I also have a $3 reward, and then I'll actually give you a verbal shout out. I know it's kind of lame, but I didn't want to put out videos that not everyone was able to see, because to me that's not fair. I know it's cool and it shows support for the creators, and that's awesome for all the creators like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but for me personally, I don't want to take content away from you guys. So maybe in the future, I'm going to try to do more personal videos like this. I know you haven't saw my face in a long time. I'm recording this on my phone, which is better quality than my laptop webcam. And my laptop's also doing weird shit right now. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, I'm Ghoul Brains on Patreon. Again, please don't feel like I'm begging. I don't want this to come off like that. That's all I want to say. But it's out there. And if you want to, that's great. And if you don't, you know what? I'm happy you subscribed. Even if you're not a subscriber, I'm happy you're here watching this. So creeps, I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, stay very spooky. Bye guys.